The sky was bruised purple, the kind of evening where the cold lingered low to the ground. Rusted pickup trucks groaned down cracked asphalt, and an oil-stained man named Elias drove in silence, hands calloused, eyes tired. Then he saw her. A dog, mud-caked, limping, ribs showing, curled beside the guardrail. Her chest rose in sharp, shallow stutters. Coughing, not barking. Coughing. Elias pulled over before he realized it. His boots hit gravel with a soft crunch. The engine ticked behind him. He crouched. "Hey, girl." She didn't flinch, but her eyes fluttered open, wet brown and filled with defeat. He reached gently, letting her sniff his grease-covered knuckles. She didn't move. Her head lay flat in surrender. "You don't look like the wild type," he whispered. Her collar was frayed leather. A faded pink tag dangled loosely. Elias turned it over. Bella. No last name. No number he could make out. Just a smudge where the rest had once been. Thunder rumbled low. He looked back at his truck, at the empty passenger seat. "Come on then," he muttered, lifting her into his arms. She whimpered once, just once, and settled against his chest. She was lighter than she should have been. Hollow-boned, fragile. As he shut the truck door and turned the key, the radio crackled alive with a country tune about second chances. He didn't smile, but he didn't change the station, either. Bella shivered in his lap the whole ride. Home. The dog shivers in his arms. Its collar says Bella, with a contact, number worn away. The garage door groaned open like it hated being disturbed. A single flickering bulb buzzed overhead. Tools hung crooked on a pegboard. An old oil drum stood in for a table. And tucked in the back, behind a workbench cluttered with spark plugs and rusted wrenches, was a small mattress on the floor. His daughter's bed. "Daddy?" a sleepy voice called. Lena padded in, pajama shirt too big, hair tangled from sleep. She blinked at the dog in Elias's arms. "She was on the road," he said quietly, kneeling beside the heater. "Sick. Cold. Thought I'd bring her in for the night." Lena crouched beside him. Her hand hovered, unsure. "Can I touch her?" "Slow." The girl's fingers gently grazed Bella's ears. The dog leaned in, barely awake but already trusting. "She's beautiful," Lena whispered. "Yeah," Elias said. "She is." He walked to a dented pot on the hot plate, poured what was left of last night's soup into an old bowl, and slid it near Bella. The dog lifted her head, sniffed once, then began to eat, slow, deliberate, grateful. Lena sat cross-legged beside her. "Is she gonna stay?" Elias hesitated. He looked at the half-covered bills taped to the fridge, the radiator that clanged more than it heated, the gas needle that never rose above empty. "She can stay the night," he said softly. "But what if she loves us?" Lena asked, hopeful eyes wide. He didn't answer. He just turned his back and reached for a wrench that didn't need picking up. Outside, the wind picked up. Inside, a moment of warmth formed around a soup bowl, a little girl, and a dog that finally stopped shaking. The daughter asks, "Can we keep her?" And he hesitates, eyes scanning the pile of unpaid bills. Morning sunlight crept through the cracked blinds, cutting the garage into lines of gold and dust. Bella lay curled beside the heater, breathing easier now, her head resting on Lena's arm. Elias sipped instant coffee, bitter and lukewarm, staring at the unpaid bills spread across the table. Mechanic invoices, overdue rent, hospital fees. Ghosts he could never seem to fix. Lena stirred awake and smiled at Bella. "She didn't cough all night," she said proudly. "Guess she's tougher than she looks," Elias replied, though his voice carried a weight he couldn't hide. The hiss of the coffee pot triggered something, the smell of steam, the echo of laughter. And suddenly, he wasn't in the garage anymore. He was back in the hospital hallway years ago, his wife Claire pale and small beneath white sheets whispering, "Promise me, you'll take care of her. Both of them, the strays and our girl." He'd laughed then, shaky and heartbroken. "Claire, I'm a mechanic, not a saint." "You fix broken things." She'd smiled faintly. "That's close enough." The monitor beeped its last rhythm. Her hand went still in his. The memory snapped away as Lena giggled, Bella licking her face. Elias blinked, chest tight. Careful, she's still weak, he muttered. Lena wrapped her arms around the dog. Then we'll make her strong. Elias watched them. Two fragile lives holding on to each other like the world wasn't already too cruel. He turned to his coat, digging through pockets until he found a crumpled note of cash, his lunch money for the week. He looked at the sleeping dog, then at his daughter's smile. Decision made. He grabbed his keys. Mechanic stares at the dog's worsening cough. Decides to skip lunch to buy antibiotics. Rain tapped softly against the garage roof, steady as a heartbeat. Elias wiped grease from his hands, crouched beside Bella, and placed a pill inside a spoonful of canned beans. There you go, girl, he murmured. A mechanic's special. Bella licked it clean, tail giving a faint, thankful wag. Lena cheered. She's getting better, Daddy. Elias smiled. Just a small, rare one. Looks that way. A knock echoed through the garage door. Sharp, official. He frowned. No one ever knocked here. He opened it to find a man in a wet uniform holding a clipboard. The words Animal Control gleamed on his badge. Elias Ward? The officer asked. That's me, Elias said cautiously. The man scanned the garage, eyes stopping on Bella. You've got a dog here matching a missing report from this area. Name's Bella, belongs to someone important. Lena stepped closer, protective. She's not missing. We found her. The officer sighed. Sir, I just need to verify. She was dying on the roadside, Elias cut in. Nobody came for her. No chip, no number. We're just trying to help. I believe you, the man said softly, glancing again at the frail dog. But the owner filed a claim yesterday. They want her back. I'll have to report this. Elias's jaw tightened. To who? The officer hesitated, almost apologetic. Someone with influence. Probably doesn't like waiting. He scribbled something on the clipboard and tipped his hat. Expect a visit soon, Mr. Ward. The door shut with a thud. Silence filled the room. Lena's eyes brimmed. Are they going to take her? Elias knelt, pulling her close. Not if I can help it. The officer says, that dog belongs to someone important. And they're looking for her. A black limo purred up like it didn't belong on this road. Sleek, polished, a mirror against the gray afternoon. Elias glanced up from under a hood, grease on his forearms, when a valet in crisp shoes stepped out and announced, Mr. Hawthorne. A tall man in a tailored coat leaned from the back seat. His watch caught the light. So did the edge of the briefcase on his lap. He carried a calm that felt like money. Quiet. Absolute. You fixed my car last time, the man said, surveying the battered sedan with the kind of interest Elias usually reserved for stubborn engines. Yep, Elias said, wiping hands on a rag. What seems to be the trouble today? Transmission, the man replied. It's making a sound I don't like. Can you look? Elias nodded, rolling his shoulders. I'll take a look now. Won't be long. As Elias bent to lift the hood, a soft sound, barely a breath, made him straighten. Bella, curled on the mat by the bench, lifted her head. The dog's eyes met the man's from across the grease-smeared floor. For a heartbeat, the expensive world and the rusted world hung together, fragile as a filament. The man's face changed. Not anger, something softer, sharper. He stepped closer, the valet trailing behind like a shadow. Where did you get her? He asked, voice controlled but sudden. Elias straightened, feeling the question like a probe. Found her on the road. Thought she needed help. The man's gaze flicked to the collar. Bella's name caught in the light, and then back to Elias. His hand went to his pocket, not for money but for a phone. He hesitated, then lowered it. You're sure? He asked again, quieter this time. Lena shuffled to Elias's side, protective. She was coughing. Daddy saved her. The man's eyes softened for a second, then hardened with something else. Recognition, maybe. He swallowed. Where did you get her? He repeated, and the warehouse of silence leaned in. The stranger notices the sick dog and freezes. Where did you get her? The next morning came sharp and silent. Rain had dried, but something heavier loomed. Elias was tightening bolts under a rusty hood when the same limo slid to the curb, this time faster, less elegant. The door flung open. Mr. Hawthorne stepped out, not in polished shoes, but boots that had never touched this side of town before. His coat swayed like a blade behind him. "She's mine," he said flatly, storming past the workbench and straight toward Bella. Bella whimpered the moment she saw him, not in fear. Confusion. Lena ran forward, arms spread. "Don't take her!" Elias stood, face unreadable. "She's still sick." "You didn't leave a number. She would have died out there." The vet's jaw clenched. "That doesn't make her yours." "No," Elias replied quietly, "but I didn't leave her to rot either." The two men stood inches apart, oil-stained coveralls versus designer wool. "She was my wife's dog," the vet said. "She disappeared after the funeral. I searched for weeks." Elias's brow softened for a moment, then hardened again. "So you're showing up now? When she's finally safe?" "I'll have the police here in 20 minutes, Hawthorne warned. Bella crawled to Lena, burying her nose in the girl's lap. Her tail barely moved. "She chose us," Lena said softly, tears catching in her lashes. The vet looked down at the girl, at the cough-rattled dog, and for a heartbeat, just one, his rage cracked. But it returned. "You have until tomorrow to give her back, or I'll make sure this place is shut down for good." He turned and walked out without another word. Mechanic's daughter cries, "She's family now." The garage felt colder that night, not from the wind, but from the weight of what had been said. Lena sat curled beside Bella, silent, her small fingers tangled in the dog's fur like she was anchoring herself to something steady. Bella wheezed softly, tail flicking in tired rhythm. Elias stood by the workbench, eyes fixed on nothing. The vet's words echoed louder than the tools on the wall. 24 hours, or I'll shut this place down. He'd fought landlords, broken axles, engine fires, but this was different. This was power he couldn't unscrew or weld shut. "Is he really going to take her?" Lena asked, voice trembling. Elias didn't answer at first. He sank onto the floor beside them and pulled Lena close. His hands, still stained with oil, trembled slightly against her back. "He thinks she's still his," he said quietly. "He thinks money makes that true." "But she's not a car," Lena whispered. "She's us now." He looked at his daughter, too wise for her years, too familiar with loss. And for the first time in a long time, Elias let himself cry. "Just a little. Just enough. I've already lost too much," he muttered. "I'm not losing her too." The clock ticked. Somewhere outside, a siren wailed, distant and cruel. Elias got up, walked over to the box of spare parts, and began pulling supplies. Towels, old space heaters, blankets. "A cracked humidifier. What are you doing?" Lena asked. "Fixing her," he said. "But you're not a vet." "No," he said, "but I'm a mechanic. I fix broken things." He glanced at Bella, who lifted her head with effort. "And I don't care what it costs," Mechanic whispers to the sleeping dog. "I don't care what it costs. I'll make you better myself." The garage transformed. Elias rolled the tool chest aside and laid down a blanket where oil used to stain the floor. He propped up space heaters with cinder blocks. He wrapped foam around a broken crate to make a bed. It wasn't much, but it was warmer than the street, and it was made with love. Lena watched silently, then ran to her room and came back with her favorite stuffed bear. "For Bella," she said, "in case she's scared." Elias tucked it beside the dog gently. "She won't be alone." He scavenged his shelves, old humidifier parts, extra tubing, an old mechanic's mask. With care, he converted them into a makeshift oxygen flow. It hissed quietly beside Bella's head, like the soft exhale of someone holding on. By morning, the coughs slowed. Elias barely slept, seated upright in the corner, eyes fixed on her chest, rising and falling like a fragile engine rhythm he couldn't let stall. The next day, he found an old notebook and began tracking her symptoms. Breathing rate, appetite, energy. every entry written in blocky, careful letters. When Bella licked his hand between sips of water, he whispered, "Good girl. We're getting there." He kept the garage closed to business, turned customers away, ignoring the knocks. The world could wait. This dog couldn't. And on the fourth night, just past midnight, Bella curled against Lena's chest and didn't cough. Not once. Elias watched from across the room, breath caught in his throat. The silence was the sweetest sound he'd heard in years. Bella stops coughing, for the first time in days. The cough was gone. Bella's tail wagged when Elias walked in, slow but certain. Her ribs still showed, but the spark had returned to her eyes. Lena sat cross-legged with her crayons spread out like treasure. "Look," she said, holding up a drawing. It showed a crooked garage with a heart above it. Inside stood 3 figures, her, Elias, and Bella. She'd written, "My 2 dads and our dog." Elias blinked, touched. "You drew me with hair." "You look happier that way," she grinned. He chuckled. "Well, don't show that to the world. No one wants to see my bald lies." But Lena already had her mom's old phone open. Too late. "I posted it." "You what?" "On that dog group Mom used to follow. Second chances for pups. People share stories. Maybe Bella's will help someone." He opened his mouth to protest, but stopped when he saw Bella nudge her snout into Lena's arm, as if agreeing. Later that night, as Elias replaced a heater fuse, Lena gasped, "Daddy, we got 412 likes." He frowned. "What's a like?" She ran to him, waving the phone. "People are commenting. One lady says she'll send dog food. Another says you're a hero." Elias stared at the screen like it might bite him. Then, slowly, a reluctant smile crept across his face. In an office high above the city, Dr. Hawthorne's assistant stood behind his desk. "Sir," she said, holding up her tablet. "You should see this." He took it. On the screen, a child's drawing, "A dog once lost," and 2 words in bold text underneath. "Love doesn't need a pedigree." He stared for a long time. The billionaire's assistant shows him the post, and something shifts in his eyes. The limo didn't wait outside this time. It crept up the cracked driveway like it didn't belong here, and knew it. Elias saw it through the window and stiffened. "Lena, take Bella inside." "But just for a minute." She obeyed. Bella limped slowly behind her, no longer coughing, but still unsure. The garage door creaked open. Dr. Hawthorne stood alone. No valet, no coat, no clipboard. Elias didn't speak first. The vet's eyes scanned the room, space heaters running, bowls cleaned, blankets folded. The scent of oil mixed now with something warmer. Lived in, protected. "I saw the post," Hawthorne said, voice low. "Not exactly part of the plan," Elias replied, arms crossed. "She looks different," the vet murmured. "Healthier?" "She stopped coughing 2 nights ago." A pause. The vet stepped toward the crate Bella had been sleeping in, noticing the drawing taped beside it. Lena's stick figures smiling beneath a crooked roof. "You made her a home," Hawthorne said, almost to himself. "She made it one," Elias said softly. From the hallway Bella padded out, tail slow, ears alert. She walked right past Hawthorne, pressing herself gently into Elias's leg. Then she looked up at the vet, curious, cautious, kind. Hawthorne knelt, reaching a hand. Bella sniffed it, but didn't lean in. "She doesn't remember me," he whispered. "She remembers kindness," Elias said. The 2 men stood in silence, watching the dog between them. "She's happier here," Hawthorne finally admitted. "Not a surrender. Not yet. But a fracture in the wall." Elias didn't gloat. He just nodded once, then let her be. The vet mutters, "She's happier here." The heater clicked. The radio hummed low. Bella snoozed near Lena as she sketched another drawing. This one of Elias fixing the world with a giant wrench. Elias, however, looked pale. He hunched over a carburetor, sweat lining his brow despite the cold. His hands moved slower now, not tired, worn out, the kind of exhaustion that creeps beneath the skin and settles in the bones. "Daddy," Lena called gently, "you haven't eaten." "I'm fine," he muttered, waving her off. He wasn't. His vision blurred. The smell of gas, the heat, the endless nights. His body was keeping a tab, and tonight it cashed out. The wrench slipped from his fingers with a loud clang. Lena jumped. "Daddy?" Elias stumbled backward, eyes wide. The world spun. "Dad!" Then everything went black. He collapsed beside the toolbox, hard. Lena screamed. Bella leapt up, barking sharply, circling Elias's motionless body. Lena dropped the drawing, hands shaking, reaching for the phone her mom once used. She remembered where the emergency button was. She remembered what her mom used to say. "Be brave when it matters." She dialed. "Please, someone. My daddy's not waking up." Later that night, in a white hospital room buzzing with machines, Elias stirred. Blurred lights, beeping monitors. Then, familiar voices. Paid already. But who? Footsteps. Soft, steady. Dr. Hawthorne stood by the bed holding Elias's file, face unreadable. "You're lucky," he said. "Severe exhaustion. Low blood sugar. Dehydration." Elias blinked. "The bill." "Handled," the vet said, cutting him off. Elias stared. "You fixed my dog," Hawthorne added. "Let me fix something for once." At the hospital, the vet arrives, with a bill already paid. Elias sat up slowly, the IV tugging at his arm. Hawthorne stood by the window, hands folded behind him, gaze lost in the city lights beyond. "You didn't have to pay," Elias said, voice rough. The vet didn't look at him. "You didn't have to save her either." "But you did." Silence stretched. Hawthorne turned. "Her name was Clara, my wife. She was the one who rescued Bella from a ditch near the coast." He paused. "She used to say, 'Animals know better than people who's worth loving.' I never believed it. Not until she got sick." Elias watched him closely now. The arrogance was gone, replaced with something else, a quiet ache. "Cancer took her fast," Hawthorne continued. "Too fast." Bella howled at the door the night Clara passed. Next morning, she was gone. Slipped out the gate. Elias looked down at his hands. "And you blamed the world." "I blamed myself," the vet replied. "I was a surgeon who couldn't save the person who mattered most. So I worked. I hid in checklists and clinics. Told myself if I stayed busy enough, it wouldn't hurt." He finally sat beside Elias, quieter now. "When I saw Bella with you and your daughter, I didn't see theft. I saw someone doing what I should have done, being present, kind, human." Elias exhaled. "We're not so different." "No," Hawthorne said. "We're just broken in different ways." A beat passed. Hawthorne looked at him, voice softer than before. "I wasn't angry at you. I was angry I couldn't save her. I wasn't angry at you. I was angry I couldn't save her." Elias returned home the next morning with a doctor's note crumpled in his pocket, and 1,000 unsaid things pressing behind his ribs. Lena ran into his arms before he could get both boots off. "You scared me," she whispered. "I'm all right," he murmured, kissing her hair. "Promise." Bella padded up, tail wagging gently, eyes brighter than before. She nosed his leg and let out a quiet huff. Half greeting, half complaint. "I missed you too." Elias smiled, kneeling down. As he ran his fingers under her collar to tighten it slightly, he felt something odd, a bulge between the stitches, a slip of folded parchment yellowed with time and sweat hidden in a small zip pocket. "What's that?" Lena asked. He slowly unfolded it. The ink was faded, written in soft cursive, but the words were still there. "If Bella ever gets lost, please don't return her to anyone who sees her as property. She is love wrapped in fur. Give her to someone with a gentle heart." Clara Hawthorne. Elias stared at the letter, hand trembling. "Who's Clara?" Lena whispered. He swallowed. "Her first mom." He stood and walked to the back wall, where the drawing of their family still hung. Lena, Elias, Bella, all smiling beneath a crooked sun, without a word. He taped the letter beside it. "She wanted Bella to end up somewhere safe," he said. "I think she already has." Bella curled back onto her mat, sighing deeply. like the last thread of worry had finally unraveled. Outside, the sky brightened. Not a full sun, but enough to promise it was coming. Mechanic reads the words, "Give her to someone with a gentle heart." The next day, the garage door creaked open again, but this time, Elias didn't flinch. Dr. Hawthorne stepped in with purpose, not pressure. No valet, no suit, just him and a small envelope. "I wanted to talk," he said. Elias wiped his hands and nodded toward the old crate they used as a seat. "You always bring good news or bills?" The vet chuckled faintly. "Neither this time." He reached into his coat and pulled out a crisp card. Thick, embossed, clean. Elias read it aloud. "Lead mechanic, Outreach Mobile Rescue Unit." He looked up, confused. "We're expanding," Hawthorne explained. "Clara wanted the clinic to go mobile, reach places that don't get help. Strays, small towns, people too proud to ask." Elias blinked. "You want me? I want someone who doesn't just fix things, someone who sees what's broken before it's too late." Lena peeked from the corner, holding Bella, both listening with wide eyes. "You'd keep your garage," Hawthorne continued, "but a couple days a week you'd come out with us, fix our vans, help with field work, train the younger guys." Elias looked down at the card. His name, his worth, finally printed and offered, not assumed. "I'm not a vet," he said quietly. "But you saved one," Hawthorne replied. "And that's more than most of us ever do." Bella trotted over and rested her head on Elias's boot. He ran a thumb over the raised lettering and smiled for the first time in a long time. Not out of relief, but recognition. "All right," he said. "Let's fix a few more broken things." Mechanic turns the card over. It says, "You saved more than just Bella." A fresh coat of paint covered the old rust stains. The warped sign that once read Ward Auto now lay in a heap behind the garage, replaced with something new. Lena held the edge of a tarp, face glowing. "Ready?" she whispered. Elias nodded, eyes misty. Together they pulled the cover down, revealing a wooden sign carved by hand. "Bella's Garage, where every engine and soul gets a second chance." The lettering curled gently, painted in soft white against blue. Below it, a tiny paw print had been pressed into the corner, forever part of the wood. A small crowd clapped, neighbors, curious passers-by, even a few folks from the clinic. Hawthorne stood nearby, arms folded, pride in his usually stiff face. Inside, the garage had changed. The oil stains were still there. Elias liked them. But beside the tools now sat crates of dog food, a rack of blankets, and a new heater. Bella lay in her corner bed, wearing a bandana with her name stitched across it. She blinked lazily at the commotion as if saying, "Finally, they named it after the right one." "Looks good," Elias said, admiring the sign. "You think she knows?" Lena asked, leaning into his side. "I think she always knew." That afternoon, a young boy brought in a busted scooter. Elias fixed it while Bella napped beside him, and Lena handed out dog treats from a painted jar marked "Give some, get some." And as the sun dipped low, casting golden lines across the cracked driveway, Elias turned off the radio and listened to the silence, the kind that wasn't empty anymore. It felt like home. A new sign is unveiled, "Bella's Garage, where every engine and soul gets a second chance." Late afternoon light soaked the front of the garage in amber gold. The new sign gleamed above them, catching the last warmth of the day. Hawthorne stood awkwardly by the old tire rack, adjusting his sleeve. Lena bounced beside Bella, brushing the dog's fur carefully. "Okay," she called out. "Everyone smile." Elias stood in the center, oil on his shirt, pride in his eyes. Bella sat obediently at his feet, tail thumping slow and steady. Lena held a homemade cardboard sign that read, "Our Forever Garage." Hawthorne joined them at the last second, hesitant, but welcomed with a nod from Elias. A neighbor snapped the photo with a click. For a moment, time stilled. 4 souls, once strangers, now stitched together by grief, grit, and grace, stood in front of a place not just rebuilt, but reborn. The kind of family you don't find. The kind of family you earn. As the camera flashed, Bella barked once, tail swaying. The perfect punctuation. Lena grinned. Can we hang the picture inside? Right next to the drawing, Elias said, ruffling her hair. Let folks see what real love looks like. Inside, a space once echoing with tools and silence now held laughter, warmth, and life. On the workbench sat Clara's note, still taped beside Lena's drawing, side by side like they belonged there. Outside, the wind picked up again, but this time it felt gentle, like a blessing. Sometimes it doesn't take a miracle to save a life, just a bowl of soup, a quiet garage, and a man willing to fix more than just engines. Freeze frame on their smiles. Narration closes. Sometimes it takes a broken dog to heal two broken men.